Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Nedarim, page 42, which discusses a special mitzvah which teaches the great level of faith and trust a person has. And that is on the 7th year. For those who have fields, it is necessary to make that land remain fallow. One is not allowed to do any planting or harvesting. And in fact, any of the fruits that grow on your property are considered to be hefker, completely ownerless, which means people can physically go into your property and take fruit. It's not considered to be trespassing. It's not considered to be stealing. In fact, the Torah tells us that because it's ownerless, you cannot tell them that they cannot come into your property. Because if the fruit is ownerless, but we say, oh, you can't come into my property, so there's no way that they're going to be able to get to those fruits. So a person can even go onto your private property to be able to walk on your land and to be able to take your fruits. And a person is required, according to Torah law, to do this. Now, the Talmud over here discusses that if a person made a vow and said, I do not want you to derive any benefit from myself, and you own a field and you have fruits. So if you would have done that before this sabbatical year, the Shvius, then it actually works. He's not allowed to eat your fruits. But what happens if a person made that declaration on the Shemitah year? Now, at that point, it's not your fruits to be able to say he can't eat them. So even though you say you're not allowed to derive any benefit from my food, my fruits, he can still eat your fruits. But the Talmud says he's not allowed to go into your property. The question is, how could he not be allowed to go into your property? How is he going to get to those fruits? And the Talmud tells us that we're talking about a specific case where you have fruits that are growing on the border of your field, and the fruits are growing in a way that he's able to get to those fruits even without actually going onto your property. So therefore, the law is he's not allowed to go onto your land because he's able to get them without going onto your land. But it's true. The fruit that is in the middle of your field, he is allowed to go through your property and to be able to get them. But not the fruits that are on the border, which teaches us the idea that just because you may be allowed to do something, in this case, this poor person has full rights to be able to eat these fruits, it doesn't mean that they can also go into this person's property. The only time is if there's no other way to get to those fruits except to go through that person's property. But if there is another way, such as being on the border and getting the fruits that you need, then that's precisely what a person must do. And we see this also when it comes to our own situations. Sometimes we're given certain abilities to be able to do things, and because we could do one thing, we may end up taking advantage of the situation and push just a little bit further. Instead of just being given the finger, a person takes the whole hand or the whole arm. And the Torah here is teaching us that even when it comes to something which is ownerless, you still have to be sensitive, if you're able to not go onto a person's property if you're able to get to those fruits anyway. And therefore, also when it comes to our lives, in a situation where you can find yourself being given an opportunity to do something, and it could be something in which you could easily take more advantage of the situation, the person needs to remember to restrain themselves from doing so.